Bad and wrong.
Ooh, we did get a little 5-second countdown. All right, hey, it's Russ Payton with Ludonarrative Dissidents. Are we going live? Yeah, I don't have a counter.
It says live in the
Yeah,
corner.
it does.
Yep.
It does. Yeah.
We're live and
We-
being ignored.
Yeah.
Just like high school.
Oh, there's the little counter. Okay, and the view count. So yeah, we're just starting. So, yeah, it'll take people a second to jump on the stream, but yeah,
We got one, guys.
we have a viewer. Yeah, we're using
Oh.
new software called Restream.
Which you can really tell that a lot of other good video names have been taken. This one sounds like they had to wrest it out of the hands of the urologists. Maybe that, I don't know. Maybe that's just my own private.
Good evening. Hello. Yes. Caleb. So yeah, we mentioned in our last episode that we or sort of in the chat that we might be talking about Salvage Union, the role-playing game, which is a mecha combat game that does not use a grid. And I'm very interested in that. So we'll pull that up in a minute. But first, we do have some news or some live discussion. James went to a kind of a moderately popular tabletop event.
Yeah, 200,000 people. Spiel Essen in Essen in West Germany. It's the biggest tabletop event in the world, according to their numbers. 50,000 people a day. This is the first. Apparently, they'd never actually inquired if there were limits on the building and stuff. So they went to the authorities and they said, how many people are we allowed in? You know, and they went 50,000. Oh, okay. We should not.
Unfortunate.
We should stop selling tickets now. Then, so for the first time ever, they put ticket limits on it, and they just sold out. You know, the 4-day passes, the individual day passes went. It is huge. It's in. I mean, it's like 6 or 7. They feel like aircraft hangars. It's all about buying and selling and playing games, but it's not about playing your games. It is about playing the games that people are selling to you. Unless you are demonstrating, having a game demonstrated to you at a publisher's booth, there is literally nowhere to sit down except the floor and 2 very small cafe areas and Hall 7, which has absolutely nothing in it. I mean, nothing. It's just empty. It's kind of odd. It is absolutely huge. It's colossal. It was the normally Thursday is the Slack day, but this year Thursday was Reunification Day in Germany. So it's a national holiday, so it was just busy every single day. Loads of no real buzz about any game in particular. It didn't feel that this is a year of, you know, where a new classic has been produced. Some talk about heavy Euros. The thing is, it's a family event. It's you know, the German market doesn't really differentiate between the really heavy stuff and the kids stuff. So Haber are, you know, next to CGE. It is and merchandise as well. It is a great show. You don't have to speak German. The variety of stuff. You will walk over. Yes, and they have a mascot now called Meeps. That is Meeps. Yeah. Meeps wanders around the hall and is just kind of disconcerting. It's like, in my experience, cats knock counters off tables. They don't add to the gaming experience.
I'm not proud of this, but my fists are just itching with punch energy. It's like I don't know why, and I don't like it, but I just want to.
Yeah,
I want to straddle that thing and pound its face, and I can't.
I don't think we've had a picture of the life-size one.
Yeah, I'm going through these pretty fast to see if we could find the little guy.
Sorry, all the pictures of Meeps, the people were, how you say, inflicting the violence on him.
Oh no. Are there like panels or work?
There's a few. You have to really. I have no idea where the panels take place, where you'd find them.
Or you're looking for panel? Are you? Yeah, it's in alley. You are pervert here.
It's huge amounts of business takes place. The Deutsche Spielpreis, which is not the Spiel des Jahres, it's different.
Just in time to hear Greg do an offensive German accent. I'm here to serve. The Paris Olympic mascot was interesting. You know, just a little red Frenchman who wants to sit on your head. That's okay.
My experience. Yes. But
Anyways.
yeah. I mean,
you got to go back to the little kid grinning there. That was wholesome. I'm here for it. Look at that.
Anyways, James.
That was
yeah.
me the first time
It's a great show. It is also
in 6th grade.
Yeah. It is surprisingly easy for British people to get to, unless they take the train. I made that mistake again because we're British. We love to complain about our railways, but holy God, compared to German railways. So I arrived in Brussels. I took the Eurostar to Brussels.
Wait, German trains ain't good?
German trains really ain't good.
Man.
Decades and decades of underinvestment, and their infrastructure.
They just relied on
the trains are fine. The lines, the rails are screwed.
So they don't run on time.
They do not. Sometimes, quite often, they don't run at all.
Resurging.
I arrived in Brussels, and it's like, okay, and now I changed trains to, oh, my train is cancelled. Okay, what do I do now? How do I get a refund? This is the train I had to rebook twice because they were told they rerouted it twice. No, they've just cancelled it. What do I do? And they were kind of, well, you head east, and then, well, you find another train that's heading east. And it was, I kind of just hopped and skipped and jumped my way across Germany and arrived substantially late. And same on the way back. My train out of Essen was cancelled 2 days before I was due to leave. And so that's an hour on the computer trying to find a replacement.
The public good is real, people.
Yeah. I missed Sunday because I had to get an 8 o'clock in the morning train. That was the only train that was available to me to make my connection. So
there we go.
There we go. There's Meeps. Oh, yeah.
I hate him.
Now imagine that with a German voice.
My rational brain is just like this tiny boat atop a roiling sea of instinctive pre-verbal hatred. It's something atavistic is being called forth by its purple hands.
I don't know. It's very much like the equivalent of my graphic design is my passion, but for mascot design.
The cat is Meeps, MWEPS. It's one thing is it is very much a board games show, board games and card games. There's quite a bit of minis there. Games Workshop were running the Golden Demon Award there. My God, some spectacular minis. The one that my personal favorite, Squignado, which is like Sharknado but with squigs. And imagine that as a miniature that's standing about 15 centimeters.
I
got it.
For those of us who were dating in high school.
I think squigs came later. Squigs are part of the orc universe.
Okay.
Is this it?
No,
that's just a
furry, but that particular I've seen plenty of mascots who did not put my
here it is.
Like
I found
Meeps. But that thing just
see here.
Squignado.
Squignado.
How much can you zoom in?
Let's see here. There we go.
Yeah. It was spectacular. It's
God, it won't let me zoom
yeah.
Hold on.
I'm
going full Oh, good Lord.
It doesn't. The Reddit algorithm is sort of.
Wow!
Yeah.
My boy Dan, who does the minis, would go berserk.
Yeah, it's a good one. Yeah.
How big was it, Jen? Was it like the size of your forearm?
No. It's only about American, probably about 5-6 inches tall, not including the base.
So the size of your fist.
I mean, that's the other thing. They are doing these immaculate work of art, the size of your thumb. It's amazing. I mean, that's what makes the Golden Demon and awards like it. That's just the standard of figure painting these days is jaw-dropping, genuinely jaw-dropping. I remember the bodging I used to do and having to use technical drawing pens to do the eyes because I couldn't do them with a brush. Anyway, but yeah, there was some roleplay stuff. I bumped into a guy at a booth party, an after-hours booth party called Andrew Marks, who works for Kickstarter these days, and he recognized me
Aw.
because he had, some years ago, I did a video for a game called Beasts of Balance, which was a beautiful but not great board game. It's a stacking game with RFID enabled pieces, so each piece you registers.
Ooh.
And I mean, the concept is great. It's just the
That
game's
sounds
not quite
cool
there.
as hell.
Yeah, you can pick it up quite cheap these days.
Oh.
But I had done this video. It turns out one of the things he had to do when he was with Niantic was make GIFs out of this video, including my face reacting to the tower collapsing over and over again. So I'm seared in his memory. But he kickstarted a zine, basically a zine style role-playing game called The Bookmarked.
The Bookmark.
And he gave me a copy of it. And it's a post-apocalypse game in which the world is littered with robots. The robots respond to spoken words, but language has changed. So you need to master the old language. And the way you do this is by having your character cued to a book, a real world book that is, and you take your cues for character generation from this book, you feel it into it, but you also master kind of spells from it. And as you master words, the robots recognize the words as potentially instructions. It's really cool. It's a very, very clever concept. I disagree with some of the things, including the names they have for the character classes, but the art is lovely and whimsical, and the idea is just so clever. My hat is off to it. I haven't played it. Wouldn't mind at some point.
Oh yeah,
but I'm running dogs in the
very
video,
original idea.
That's taking up all my time.
Yeah, nice. No, I quite like the idea. Certainly anything that makes use of things we all have around the house is
exactly, yeah. So you can choose your book, or you can choose one randomly, or you can have another player assign a book to you.
I think that's one of the reasons why Alice is Missing is such
oh my god
took off so well because
can
of
you
the,
imagine
phones,
a game where it's like, oh yeah, your character's is giving robot instructions based on In Praise of the Stepmother.
I haven't read it, or The Age of Wire and String.
In Praise of the Stepmother is a fantastically well-written book and profoundly disturbing and deeply horny. It is. I mean, I'm trying to remember if the guy who wrote it won a Pulitzer Prize or a Nobel Prize or something. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Mario Vargas Llosa, Nobel Prize for Literature, and it's I mean, In Praise of the Stepmother may be one of those experiences you can't be prepared for. I don't know.
Dang.
Maybe I was just too young when I read it. I was like 22. And it's just, yeah.
Huh.
Vargas Llosa. I don't know how to pronounce his name correctly, but I deeply appreciate his writing. So
interesting. Now that we got sufficiently off topic for Vested, I do. Yeah, that does sound like a fascinating con. I would love to try it at least 1 year, but it is.
Oh God, I just thought of the cheapest, underselling itist way to describe In Praise of the Stepmother is a South American writer looking at Lolita and saying, "Hold my beer."
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Jeez.
Right.
So,
that'll silence the game.
Yeah, where do we go from there?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mentioned The Age of Wire and String, and I'm not going to attempt to describe that. I think it may be undescribable. It is one of my favorite books.
Oh,
neat.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Ben. All right, Ross, favorite book.
Favorite book of all time.
One of your favorite books.
One of my favorite books would be Bullfinch's
If it's Starship Troopers, I'm logging off.
Bullfinch's Mythology. Okay, so you prefer that to Edith Hamilton, huh?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's what my parents introduced me, how I learned Greek mythology. That called probably more recently. What is it? What's the name? Let's see.
I'll go with If on a winter's
Oh, The
night, a
Shock
traveler-
Doctrine by Naomi Klein.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, because it's once you read it, you like, oh, this is how things do work on a global, massive scale. So the Shock Doctrine is basically austerity politics and like explodes the myth that the global free market triumphed democratically, exposing the thinking, the money trail, and the puppet strings behind world-changing crises and wars of the last 4 decades. It's the story of America's free market policies that have come to dominate the world through the exploitation of disaster-shocked people and countries. And once you see the pattern that Klein sort of explains, you see it again and again and again. You're like, oh. So it's one of my favorite books because it's very eye-opening. Yeah. So
incredibly depressing because you can't unsee it.
yeah, there's a reason why some of my favorite games are Delta Green and Red Markets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go with On a Winter's Night, a Traveler by Calvino, just because it's like porn for lit crit majors. It's like, oh, here's 1,000 inside jokes, and also I'm gonna do everything you want to do, but as a joke, and make it look really easy because it's a joke. And also, I'm going to do something you never thought of doing, and it's going to be amazing. So
this is my favorite Calvino book, Invisible Cities.
I haven't read Invisible Cities.
It's very good.
It didn't. I need to go back to it. It did nothing for me. I came to it after.
I like weird architecture stuff and just like and world building. So
do you, Ross? Do you really?
A little, just a tiny bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But if on a winter's night, a traveler, it's
so far. What's the other one? If on a winter's night, a traveler isn't a porn book.
It is surprisingly horny.
Not compared to Praise of the Stepmother, baby.
Yeah.
Okay. It's the only book I can think of, apart from the fighting fantasy books, that is told in the second person and really works.
You
and
haven't read You a Fiction, have you?
No, I haven't.
It's my novel, baby.
Oh, well, it's obviously that one. Obviously. But the opening line is, you are about to start reading If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler, the new novel by Italo Calvino. And you do. And you sit down and you start reading If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler, the new novel by Italo Calvino. And so chapter 1 is telling you how you're about to start reading it. So chapter 2 is chapter 1 of If on a Winter's Night, a Traveler, the new novel by Italo Calvino. Except you discover it isn't. And to say any more would be a spoiler.
Yes, and it's... And the first chapter is all about going to the bookstore to get it and how you have to navigate past. Oh, you have to get past the books you've been meaning to read but haven't picked up yet. And the books you've claimed to have read but haven't actually. And so have been meaning to read so that you don't get caught out in the lie. And the books you really should read but just don't want to. When I described it as porn for lit crit majors, I didn't mean it was sexually explicit material for lit crit majors. I meant it was a specialty interest thing that non-lit crit majors might have a hard time saying, why are you into that?
Oh, no, I think there's a universality to it. I think the other thing is it's not hard work. Unlike a lot of experimental novels, it's not hard work. It doesn't make you really strain to get what he's on about. It's funny. It's great.
So funny. Okay. Apart from that I describe to people over and over, is it establishes that there are these two writers, and one of them, it describes him as he produced books the way a vine produces pumpkins, and everything he produces, he like cranks out a book a year and they all sell really well and publishers love him and critics are like, this guy. And then the other writer it describes is this literary genius who never sells very well and who agonizes over sentences and puts out a book like every 5 years. And then the critics go crazy and he's studied in all these colleges. And the two writers find themselves in the same hotel. And in the middle of the hotel, it's like 2 towers with a pool in the middle. and they're both there trying to write their most recent books. And they look out the window, and there's this beautiful woman by the pool lying there reading a book on her stomach, and she's clearly totally mesmerized. And each of the two writers looks at this beautiful woman and thinks, I bet she's reading a book by that other guy. And it's priceless.
Yeah,
It's so
very
funny.
good.
Yeah, so good.
But speaking of books, I want to bring up a new book.
Is it a gaming book or a
It is a game
novel?
book.
Okay,
It is,
we should
what is
stick you a
it?
fiction
Yeah.
in there. Stick in a link.
Yeah,
then
it
here's
is
Salvage Union.
Salvage
Yeah.
Union. So Salvage Union, this is the quick start guide, which you can get free on leyline.press. Here, I'll pull up their website in a second. Which has you can buy all their stuff here, and they're currently doing, I believe, a Kickstarter or something for a starter set. But I figured the quick start is free, so why don't we take a look at it? Very high quality of art, and graphic design.
If you like, it has that old timey. Robotech, not Robotech. What was the other one? There was Robotech, and there was the other one.
Oh, are you talking about the one Pondsmith
Gundam.
did? Mecton Zero or Mecton?
Oh no, you're assuming that I have much deeper mech nerd cred than I have. I'm thinking of the games. There was Robotech, and then there was the
Battletech.
other one that BattleTech, and this
Yeah.
feels to me like they're
Yeah, it's a
hearkening
Western mecha,
back.
not a anime influenced mecha.
Yeah.
Like it's practical.
Yes. Though, of
yeah.
course, you're not counting Battle Droids, the first edition of BattleTech, which used Robotech plastic miniatures.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So they're
Thanks,
doing it
historian.
on backer kit, yeah.
It is on
But
back,
we have it set in a post-apocalyptic world.
sure.
It's a ravaged one, and Mexico
Well, of course it's
commonplace.
ravaged.
Corporations dominated. I like using the headings to like give a thematic. You could just read the headings and get like something. So
Sure, if you're lazy.
yeah, or
or
doing
an
a summary
LOL.
for a live stream. So
Okay, touche.
yeah, go on.
Graphically, it doesn't look quite like anything else. It's very much its own thing. The artwork is great. There are exploded diagrams. There are cutaway diagrams of some of these robots. It's catnip. It's really the other thing about this quick start, this free quick start. It's 112 pages, and you do not need anything else to. I mean, literally, you can play the game off this. I suspect you will. Quite very soon, you'll be going, oh, I want more of this lovely, lovely stuff. It's really well done.
It's on leyline dot what?
Press.
Leyline.press.com?
No, leyline.press.
Yes. Leyline.
Keep up with your TLDs, Greg. TLDs.
I refuse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, we have
just-
some news about that. Yeah. Do you want
Can I just jump in? Because last live stream, I said don't register .io addresses because that's Indian Ocean and specifically refers to the Chagas Islands, which are contested, which Britain basically forced the existing inhabitants off in order to make room for a US airbase back sometime in the 40s or 50s. In between then and now, Britain has signed a deal with Mauritius. We've basically handed the islands over to, handed the islands over to Mauritius in exchange for a long lease for the airbase. And therefore, it appears that this whole mess about the IO Indian Ocean domain is going to hasn't been sorted out yet, but whoever's profiting from it will very shortly not be profiting from it anymore. So I like to think that in a little way, our live stream may have provoked that, and not the 8 years of discussions that the British government has been in between, leading up to this. The other thing is clearly the Tory government. One says a lot of bad things about the Tories, and I've said before, my brother-in-law is a Tory member of Parliament, so I'm contested there. This was the right thing to do, to hand it back, and they did a lot of discussions. Change of government, the Labour Party get in, have 2 meetings, sign the deal, and the Tories immediately go, how dare you hand the Chagos Islands back to Mauritius? It's literally front page of the Daily Mail going, Starmer's cowardice. Yeah. It's honestly, political opportunism. If you want to see it, it's right there. But
I
this is
don't want to see it, but it's still right there.
It's still right
yeah.
there.
It appears that
I
the
live
UK
in
for once-
America, James. I feel your pain.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry. We
Yeah.
did the right thing. It's all getting sorted out.
Mhm.
Don't register .io domains for a little bit, but you know.
Yeah, hopefully this does not like impact itch.io because boy, tabletop needs it. Like,
Shouldn't do.
yeah,
It is possible for entire top level domains to disappear. .yu for Yugoslavia disappeared because Yugoslavia no longer exists. There was a moment. The story of that is extraordinary, worth delving into, and involves basically people stealing all the servers and taking them across. You know, it's mad. It's all a bit mad. But I think 6 or 7 TLDs have ceased to exist, usually because of geographical reasons.
Oh man! So and there are probably people with nostalgia for them, or would it be solastalgia?
I don't know.
That's a good question. But
Anyway.
to get back to Salvage
So
Union,
Max,
yeah. So the world
can I
is
make
ripe
a
for
big boom with
exploration.
it?
So you're going down the wastelands and looking for salvage. There's giant monsters, the Biotitans. There's corporations scheming. There's alien entities, but there is hope. And so,
but the hope is you.
Yeah,
which
so
means that the hope is murderous and chaotic.
I do like that there's like safety protocols that were sort of like
Built
how
in,
you're role
sure.
playing. Yeah, like even in the quick start guide. And then we have uses D20s. And then we have some nice art. And then
the art is great.
Oh yeah.
The full page stuff is the full color stuff like that. There's quite a bit of it, and it's really nice. And again, not quite like anything else. The tone, it's interesting because it reminded me a bit of Pacific Rim 2, which I liked a good deal better than Pacific Rim, and I realize I may be alone here. But
I'm trying to remember if I even saw Pacific Rim 2.
Starts off with a kid scavenging bits of smashed up giant robots to build her own, which is ridiculous, but it's a ridiculous concept to start with. But it's got that element, but it's got the bio stuff going on as well in an interesting way. I don't know if you could do Pacific Rim 2 with this, but if Pacific Rim 2 had gone full post-apocalypse, I think this would be one of those games.
Yeah.
A game, yeah.
I like this mech. It's just a box. It's a box on legs.
It's the Audi mech.
Yeah. Oh, this is because this is the hacker guy. Yeah, of course this is just like a walking server farm. Yeah, that makes sense.
What is not just alone wrong too? Oh, James. Okay. My thought about Pacific Rim, I went and saw it in the theater with one of my kids, and it was a great experience. And I came out of it, I'm like, wow, what a great movie. But I wish I had retained even one thing about the protagonist. I just remember the protagonist had a really buff torso and like a brother, and every other character in the movie is way more interesting.
Yeah. Man, I like the giant digging rigging arm, I guess. Or no, that's not the rigging arm. What is that? Hull magnetizer. What is the giant fucking thing right here for?
It looks like a chainsaw.
Yeah, but I don't see it spelled out here. Comms, hull magnetizer, metal detector, reinforced chassis.
Scroll down.
No, these are like 2-page spreads.
Oh, well, damn.
Yeah.
That's just decorative.
I guess, yeah.
It just
it's a wind turbine, possibly.
Sparks.
Heavy duty. No, it's definitely a digging thing. So I guess it's just the mining rig itself. So that's Oh, it can it's a mining rig. So melee weapon, so it's a close damage. So yeah. All right. Cool. Then we got a scout. We got a little flying. Oh, they have flying mechs too. That's not actually too common in these. Soldier, robot with gun. Yeah, classic. And then big boy.
It's Oh, what was the series where the cities eat each other?
Oh, yeah.
Mortal Engines.
Yes.
Mortal Engines. Was the movie of that any good?
No,
I read the first book.
I heard it was
No.
very bad. Yeah.
I have seen it. It's very bad.
Okay.
It fails to capture any of the magic that makes the books work. The books are terrific, and the movie it's Peter Jackson, and you just go, man, are you one of those directors who has forgotten how to direct? You know, you've done your good, you've used up all your good stuff, and now you're floundering around like later John Carpenter or later Hal Hartley. It is weird. There are some directors who they hit a point and suddenly the movies are no good, or much less good. Let's be honest.
Well,
so skimming the rules right here, it's a D20 system, but with static target numbers. So kind of like Powered by the Apocalypse, but a D20 spread instead of 2D6. So that's interesting. And then, but there is a pushing mechanic where you can push things and damage your mech, possibly destroy it, but you get a re-roll if you fail the original roll. So
all right. So let me see if I've got this straight. I'm like, I'm gonna hit James's mech with my giant spinny scoop, and I roll, and I'm like, damn, I missed. But I want to hit James's mech so bad that I'm gonna overload and get a re-roll. And if it succeeds, everything's fine. But if it fails, I've burnt out my widget. Or
no. So the pushing mechanic is roll the die, re-roll the die if you decide to push, accept the results of the second roll, resolve all effects of the roll, increase your heat by 2, and roll your heat check. If the heat check fails, roll on the reactor overload table and resolve this effect.
This sounds like a lot of chained rolls.
That's because, I mean, as a mecha game, that's par for the course. Like, it's very in genre to be like pushing the limits of your mech by heating it up, overheating it in order to get what you want. So
I don't want to criticize it without immediately having a positive suggestion, but it feels like there could be a more elegant solution than just, now do a chained series of saving throws.
Well, you only have to do that if you decide to push it. You can always just accept the original roll.
Right.
So
that's push your luck. It's
push your luck. Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like when I think of push my luck, I think of Cosmic Wimp Out, which you get you either push your luck or you get trapped into pushing your luck. And it's fascinating because when you get trapped, you're like, oh, this could still turn out really good for me, but I have no choice except to do the risky thing and maybe eat shit and faceplant. So
I mean, part of it is also look at the spread here, because this is a little more generous than most D20 systems, because only like a 1 is a crit failure, 2 through 5 is a regular failure.
Oh, wow.
And then 6 through 10 is a tough choice. Then 11 through 19 is a success. And then 20 is a crit. So like you're on odds at least getting the option to do something most of the time, like a 50% chance of just succeeding.
All right. And tough choices in capitals, so that has a rules meaning.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't gone into that yet. So
I bet okay.
Yeah, this is just the core.
Is it a lot of GM? Does the GM have to dance as fast as they can to be like, oh, well, for this one you have this tough choice, and for you have that tough choice, and and also, is it player facing? So, or does the GM have to be doing like, oh, and now let me resolve my tough choices for my 3 mechs?
The mediator gives you a tough choice with some kind of setback attached. When attacking, you hit, but you all must make a tough choice. So it seems to be player facing mechanics. There's nothing about the mediator, the GM rolling. And you can also vent heat, so you could push your luck and then spend an action to. Oh, it's a long action, so so basically you have so much heat you can burn anyway. So this is like sort of your, in a sense, heat is like your mana in a magic system,
right?
But like heat is your ability to do cool mecha things. And
so why do I want to get rid of that? Because you can get too much.
Well, because you get too much. You start with 0 and you can get up to so much heat per mech. Different mechs have a different threshold. So like until you hit that threshold, your mech is fine. So the difference between, like, if your threshold is 6 and you get to 5 heat, you're fine. But some would argue you're wasting resources by not pushing it to 6.
Now, are
Yeah.
there things that you can only do? It's like, okay, this weapon's really good, but you need heat 4 to turn it on.
I know Lancer does that. Lancer has a lot of the mechs that have like want to heat up or get to a certain like point. I don't know if Salvage Union does. I would guess so because there's a lot of mech designs and like there's only so many things you can do with that. So yeah, I'm not seeing anything about tough choices yet, but again, we're just getting in the basics. And this is also the quick start, not the full
Sure,
game.
sure.
Yeah.
And I see people in the chat talking about Horse Girl, and I'm like, is this a springboard off my discussion earlier of sexually explicit novels? Or is this an entirely different thing and I've just been so internet-brained that I can only see perversion everywhere I look?
Let me see if it is.
I know what Horse Girl is.
Is it on itch.io? I want to say it is.
Strangely enough, I believe it is. It is a solo RPG in which it, as the release says, it's published by Leyline. It is a journaling game essentially in which I'm going to do it a disservice by trying to break it down to one. If you can anyone read the description on the back of the book? Because otherwise, I'm just going to mangle this by trying to give a splurge. Essentially, you fall under the thrall of someone very extremely charismatic who convinces you that maybe you should turn into a horse surgically. And you are kind of chronicling that journey, and you can back out at any point. But the question is whether you want to. It's really close to many Knuckles. Whether is it sexual, I don't know. I mean, that depends entirely on the player. It's transformative. Sure. I suspect there is a very strong subtext about trans identity and that changing oneself to fit what someone else wants to and is it what you want or is it what society wants? How much of this is your decision? At what point? I've not played it. I think I've read it, I think I've skimmed it. But it is, it's intense. Let's put it that way. It's one of the most intense games within the role-playing arena that I have ever read.
Yeah, inspired by such lovely films as Tusk, the Human Centipede trilogy, Boxing Helena, and Equus. So that's the
wow.
Yeah, if that sounds like your bag, run to itch.io and download this. Or buy it from Leyline Press, because I'm sure they will have done a gorgeous job on the layout.
Yeah. I think I got a press release email from that first because I'm on a bunch of press email because of Gen Con press and blah blah blah. And then I started getting Salvage. It's like, wait, is this the same group? Like, what? One of these things is not like the other, but I admire them swinging for the fences in that and Horse Girl and like approaching these kind of subjects because it does speak to a lot of people and like, it's not for everybody, but it's not trying to be for everybody. So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's to springboard off that is. I would rather see something that completely alienates me and make to the point of making my skin crawl than I would rather see another dull fantasy heartbreaker. Well, we're gonna do D&D except right and change this one thing that never felt right to me.
We've got 5 types of elf.
Yeah. Oh God.
And cat people. Yeah.
James, you've shot me through the heart.
Meeps, you can play Meeps.
Oh God, now you've pulled the arrow out. It's arterial bleeding.
Jesus Christ, I have to write that now. A post-apocalypse game in which you are Meeps, you are all Meeps just walking through the
want real horror
Endless Games convention.
Mr. Essen has invited you to be to get free pass at Spiel to Essen every year, but you have to go through some surgery.
Where
Meeps Girl. Meeps Girl. Yeah.
No, Ross is going to write Meeps Girl. James is going to write Meeps after
Salvage-
the apocalypse, and I'm going to
Salvage
write
Meep.
Meeps must die.
Meeps must die. Yeah, the perfect trilogy. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's our new Kickstarter.
You heard it here first.
Oh god. So we have a lot of any mecha game rests on how cool the mechs are and how kind of cool gear they have. And so we have pages and pages, and this is again the quick start thing of different levels of tech and how much they cost to put onto your mech in terms of space.
And see, I saw in the now rapidly moving chat, which I love, but someone's like, "Oh, more interesting than 1,000-Year-Old Vampire," and I loved 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I enjoyed it tremendously. I was this close to buying. So you met 1,000-Year-Old Vampire.
Oh yeah,
and I'm curious what people's beefs with 1,000-Year-Old Vampire are.
I don't know. I mean, I think probably some people just don't like the solo RPGs.
But this was someone saying that Horse Girl sounded more interesting. Which, okay, if you are into an internalized personal horror of powerlessness, and it's like, oh no, we're going to do an externalized personal horror of this is you degenerating, but it's the people around you who wind up painted on the walls.
Mm-hmm.
I can see how that would appeal less, but I don't know. Let me see who originally said it. We're Word Squared, and I don't know, just a little curious, reaching out.
I mean, it's not just maybe the
parasocially engaging.
No, you're doing it, Greg. So yeah, so you met 1,000-Year-Old Vampire. I didn't remember seeing this, or is it still backing? No, it ended a couple weeks ago. By the way, I do like that they have this date on the backer kit thing, which Kickstarter does not do, because a lot of times I'll look up a Kickstarter and like, when did this end? And you have to go through all the updates to find out when it ended.
I love his design.
Oh yeah,
that stuff's so cool looking. Damn.
Yeah, he's very good at this.
It's really good. You heard about the art, Greg? Did you hear about the art book version of 1,000-Year-Old Vampire? Which I think he kickstarted, wouldn't tell anyone what it was, and this put a lot of people's backs up, because he basically redid 1,000-Year-Old Vampire as an abstract book, replacing all the text with just painted blocks of color. And I believe he is an artist. I believe he's a trained artist. So I've never actually seen one. I can believe that this is a beautiful object. If what you were expecting was in any way a role-playing game,
right, you
didn't get it. And I think that really annoyed a lot of his backers. So yeah, he did want, as someone says, he did warn people not to buy it. I think it's a beautiful concept. I think it's a really lovely. Do you know a humument?
Yes, I do know about a humument because Tynes loved it so much.
And
I checked it out. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is interesting. This is some wild stuff.
My copy is in here somewhere. It's an old Victorian novel that an artist whose name I am currently blanking on, it was originally called A Human Document, and he's just gone through it.
It wasn't a human monument?
Document, I think. Okay. Could be. But he's basically painted over part of the pages, or he'll highlight certain words and link them up in new ways. And he's done it multiple times on multiple copies of the book. There are multiple editions, different, of a humument. And it's a gorgeous thing. It's not readable in any conventional sense, but it's an experience just to handle it.
Okay, so here,
how do you spell it?
Humument.
The main character in it is named Bill Toge, Toge. So he only can paint images on pages where there is a phrase like "to get" or a word like "together." And Bill Toge became the main character in the original Unknown Armies scenario, Bill in 3 persons.
Huh.
Oh, so I love John so much.
Humument DNA is pretty early in the evolution.
I'd not heard of this. I'll have to check it out. Yeah.
It's cool. It's
Yeah, it does
interesting.
sound
I mean,
very cool.
it does what art is. It does what I want art to do to me,
Mhm.
and I'm not sure that I can fully verbalize what that is. I was at the Beloit Art Center the other day,
Mhm.
looking at the this month's collection is local artists. It's like the Southern Wisconsin Art Encouragement something. I don't know the name of it, but I just remember walking along and I'm like, this does nothing for me. This does nothing. Oh, this watercolor. Yeah. I feel myself drawing strength from looking at this painting, which sounds just kind of twee as hell, but I mean, it works
I mean,
for me.
Stendhal syndrome is real. Like, yeah. Yeah. God, yeah. No, this is fascinating. I'll have to look this book up after we're done with the get my hands on a copy. Yeah.
It was one of those. I found it in a remainder stack in a bookshop. I had never heard of it, no idea what it was. That discovery, that sense of finding something and wondering if you're the first.
Oh man, that just has to be a force multiplier of it, where it's like, not only is it a cool thing, but I am the discoverer of this cool thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't that someone cooler than me said, "Oh, yeah, well, that band's great, but you should really be listening to this band." And then I listened to this band and it was great. No, I just came across it. And like Columbus, I planted my flag, only I'm not as morally reprehensible and disease-ridden as Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like there's somebody told me earlier this year, the Great Western Railway, which still exists but in a different form. Back before the railways were nationalized, we had different railways, and the Great Western Railway was the one that Brunel founded back in the day. In the 1920s, they commissioned a series of 3 large scholarly books. They commissioned cathedrals, castles, and I think it's called abbeys. And they went to noted authors of the time. And for abbeys, they went to M.R. James.
Dang.
And you can pick this fucker up for $5. And it's like that thick. It's a hardback. There's a map in the book. There's diagrams all the way through. It's him talking about because he was essentially not an archaeologist. What's the word I'm looking for? He loved old things, particularly churches. Antiquarian. Perfect. Thank you.
Here for you, James.
I appreciate it.
Classic All Cthulhu investigator type. Yeah.
Virtual high five.
Yeah.
So yeah, and you it's like a $5 on Alibris Co UK, that is com.com. I suspect it's a bit rarer, but but I wish I had discovered that for myself. I really do.
Oh.
I mean, it's such a gorgeous thing. Now, of course,
you would have found that and you've been like, this can't be the same M.R. James. This has got to be a different M.R. James.
It very much was. I do have a copy. I think one of the few things my parents got right was they gave me a copy of his book on churches in Norfolk and Suffolk.
Wow.
Which is where I'm from.
It's buying the M.R. James book and these Norfolk and Suffolk books, and that's the only thing that they did right in raising you, huh?
Oh,
because my parents taught me right from wrong, and
my parents shipped me off to boarding school when I was 8. My parents, when I moved into my first house, it had high ceilings and high bookshelves, and they said, "What do you want for Christmas?" This is a completely true story. I am not embellishing this. I said, "What I would like is a set of library steps, so I can get up that extra 2 feet, so I don't have to reach for the very top shelves." And they gave me an antique commode. My parents, ladies and gentlemen.
Can you climb on the commode to reach books?
That was their theory. I did once. It creaked alarmingly, and I got off quickly. Yeah.
Huh. Man, this is making the whole learning right and wrong thing just seem better and better.
Oh yeah. No, I appreciate your parents greatly, Greg. And I love mine and all. One of them dead now.
Right.
Long dead. But
commode. Wait, Does Commode have
Yes.
another?
Commode in this sense, it's essentially a big potty in a wooden case with a flip top lid. If you are caught short in the night and it is too far to the bathroom, which does not happen in London houses, then you would use a commode, and then you close the lid and the smell is contained.
Wow.
The Commode Dragon. Yes, thank you. That's brilliant.
The
I am
Commode
surprised.
Dragon.
Okay.
I'm surprised nobody designed that as a new D&D monster in the early days of White Dwarf.
Oh, yeah. Well, because no one had to go to the bathroom in the early days of D&D. If they had, there would have been. It's like, oh, you think the mimic's bad? Bad, you haven't run into the Commode Dragon. You do not want to know what that breath weapon is like.
So you're not the only one with parents who would give them unusual gifts. So my parents used to be antique dealers, and so my dad would give me things like this guy. So this is Haywire.
Whoa.
He's about 2.5 feet tall, 2 feet tall, something like that.
I love him.
He's
is
looking for his little heart, and there are tuning forks on his back, and so I used to put him on my fireplace, which was near the laundry room. And let's see if I can find a photo with him on there. And so what would happen is when it was in the dry cycle, the spin cycle, I would start hearing this sounds like, what is that? Oh, Haywire, he's singing. And he was even at one of my friends.
This is the opposite of that that horrible thing from Essen.
Yes.
This is you need to start a games convention so this can be your mascot.
Exactly.
This looks like it would have been on a pagan shirt from the 90s. This looks like the Clockwork Child. It's good.
Okay, in the chat, could you please just post a plus sign if you would kill or die to protect Haywire? Because
also, I don't have a photo off. I have to look for it, but it was the fan of Barry Goldwater's car. It was mounted on a thick wooden board and a little letter on the back. Swear it came from his Thunderbird.
Wow.
And later on, I got another robot. So this is Lampbot. So Lampbot was made by Torino, which is an Italian lamp company, and they made this sometime, I think, in the 70s or the 80s.
This deserves a full screen.
He's very good.
Oh man,
that's
amazing.
He looks like he should be seducing Barbarella.
I mean, he's from that era.
Is he posable?
No, I don't think you can. But his head and his hands light up differently.
You don't think?
Yeah, I haven't touched him. I have put him down, and I turn him on when I'm watching a movie. I turn the other lights. I just have mood lighting and a Lampbot. But you see, my parents had another Lampbot when we were growing up, and they put him in the chimney because we didn't use the fireplace, so he's Chimney Bot. And then that was what we called him all throughout my childhood. And then a couple of years ago, I went back to visit them, and they and I did. Oh, Chimney Bots, guys! Like, oh yeah, we sold those. Like, oh, I would have taken Chimney Bot. And this, my father was strucken with guilt. I had given up his he had sold the inheritance, and so
it's like the opposite. It's the prodigal dad.
Yeah, he's like, how dare? What have I done to my boy? Yeah, so he had to go find a new Lampbot.
I've sold his heritage for a mess of pottage.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've got other things too, like an Afghan war rug and some other weird things. They just comb and flea markets and antique stores and eBay.
Oh God, your
throughout the entire
Your parents would drive my wife crazy. and we have a great marriage, but the one little source of it's like the source of friction that keeps things fresh and interesting is that I like a room that is crowded with weird stuff.
Yeah.
And she likes, a bright, open, airy, spare Who was the Falling Water architect?
Frank Lloyd Wright.
Frank Lloyd Wright, yes,
Yeah.
and the Prairie Style.
Sure.
And so, if I got a lamp bot, she'd be like, "Oh, that's great, honey. You can keep it in your office with all your other bullshit."
Yeah. Yeah, no, Lampbot is like a legit thing. Like there are people who collect them and they go out for them. They don't make them anymore. Like it's.
I am out. How
That's great.
is this your retirement fund?
Hopefully not. I hope it doesn't get to that.
Okay, can I go off on a gigantic tangent for a second?
Yeah.
Can I just very briefly? Rollies says you need to step up Lampbot for Salvage Union, and he is right.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is.
There it is.
Yeah.
All
Anyway,
right, so
tangent us, Greg.
there is a book called The Club Dumas, which is great, and it's by this macho Spanish writer named Arturo Perez Reverte. And it is about a guy who hunts down rare books for a living, and the course of the novel is him looking for copies of Nine Gates to the Kingdom of Shadows. And it's this whole Satanist thing. But the cool part is the connection to Alexandre Dumas's books and this secret conspiracy of Alexandre Dumas fans. And there's this great part in the book where the last scion of this noble family is living alone in the decaying remains of the palazzo, the Italian palazzo they called home. And he's just gradually been shrinking his experience in around himself and closing off rooms that he no longer has the money to maintain. And he loves books more than anything in the world and had this collection of amazing, super rare incunabula tomes. And he's been and every year, because he's being an aristocrat, he has absolutely no skills or worth. So he sells off these rare books, and every year he has to pick like the 2 or 3 books that this year he has to sell to maintain his life. And it's narrowed down to his library and his bedroom and the kitchen and like one other room that he keeps the books in. So that part's terrific. The movie got made into the book got made into a movie by Roman Polanski, Hollywood's favorite rapist. And it was terrible, and I hated it so much. It was like, what if we took everything that was light and delightful and playful in the novel and just beat you over the head with it under the assumption that you are dumb as hell. So Roman Polanski had the list of things Roman Polanski has to answer for is longer than my arm. And the Ninth Gate is way, way down on there, but it's the one that affected me personally. So yeah, read
good
the
soundtrack
book,
though, but
don't see the movie. Is the soundtrack good?
I remember liking it when I saw it. Other than that, as a horror fan, I watch a lot of horror movies. It's kind of mid as a movie. It didn't really stand out.
And this was before Johnny. This was before it was okay.
Yeah, this was a lot. I saw it when it came out. I haven't seen it since. I doubt I would like it anymore. Sorry, James.
Johnny Depp. He does. I don't know if he does it in the States. He does adverts over here for Sauvage, the Dior poetry. The great thing about Sauvage, which they also put on posters, is that if you swap the V for an S, it becomes sausage.
Yes.
And people do graffiti it quite a lot.
And they'll draw in like the fork with the sausage right under his name where he's making, and suddenly his expression changes from sexy to I'm smelling a dubious sausage.
Oh no. Well, before we go, I do want to talk about
what the movie is not cursed now.
Let's talk about instead of
cursed. It was born cursed.
instead of a real life monster, I was talking about something fun, like a giant armored beast called Scylla.
Scylla.
Yeah, and so the Titans are clearly boss monsters. They can take 3 actions. Only one action may be chosen at a time, and only at the end of another pilot's or NPC's turn. They regain spent actions at the start of their turn. So, yeah, so this obviously everyone has to team up to fight this giant thing with 39 structure points. I do like its armor. Instead of removing damage from each attack, it just negates 3 attacks, which is a better way of doing armor for a boss than just like making every single attack less effective. Like, oh, you need 2 points of armor. Okay. So, and it makes 1 giant sweeping attack. They can hit every target within medium range, dealing 3 damage, and they're knocked prone, or it can do a melee attack, or it can ambush people. So I like this as a design for a boss monster, like giving him multiple actions, giving some defense abilities. Yeah.
I just like the idea that it's a giant robot game in which you're fighting things that aren't other giant robots.
Yeah, that too.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Be an
just
original
Mecha
concept.
Godzilla versus Godzilla. I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
know,
not
but
new.
for
Yeah.
games, that's surprisingly novel.
Yeah, there's not a lot of
That's
mecha
Pacific
games
Rim,
with
baby.
organic monsters. They do have stuff in Lancer where you say you can make monsters and just give them Lancer or mecha equivalent stats, but it's kind of an afterthought.
All right, so does this do the Lancer thing where it's like, here's the combat mechanics and they're all one thing, and here's the everything else mechanics and they're a much lighter, easier thing?
No,
and
it
there's
seems more
this-
integrated.
Yeah. I don't know.
I kinda-
a quick start.
Yeah.
I kind of like the hard split in Lancer, and I'm thinking about that for future design.
Yeah, I do want to run this for Role and Play Public Radio. I plan to at some point, but yeah, the quick start is a very good first impression of a game.
Are you going to run it online or people sharing air?
I mean, because it doesn't require a map or minis, then probably online.
No, you could.
Yeah,
I'd be down for that.
Okay.
I'd enjoy that.
All right, I'll keep that in mind.
I'll just say it's a heck of a quick start, and it's free. And next time I see them at a show, which will likely be Dragon Meet, I will almost certainly pick up a hard copy. I'm hella impressed by that. That PDF.
I was looking for it at Gen Con this year, but they weren't out yet. So, but yeah, I'll pick up a print copy sooner or later. But I have quite a few games in my backlog.
Well, we'll see if they show up at Gamehole Con, which I am going to this next week. It's, I guess, Wisconsin's biggest role-playing game convention. So if any of you are there, I will be wandering around. This may be the first convention I have attended without a booth to anchor me. I'll just be wandering around like like a schmuck.
Next weekend,
Madison, I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. I mean, and Forbeck's going to be there, and there's a lot of great game people in Wisconsin, so I'll see them there. So I won't be lonesome, but yeah, it'll be interesting, and maybe the next live stream remind me to regale you with stories of my game hole adventures.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you.
Hold on, can I plug? I know we're over time. Let me just very quickly plug. It can be told I'm doing a couple of talks in the next couple of months. If you're in the London area, on the 9th of November, which is a Saturday afternoon, I'm talking at Kensington Central Library on How Did Board Games Get So Good, which is about the rise of modern board games over the last 50 years. But we're talking specifically about certain titles, including D&D, Warhammer, Uno, believe it or not, Ticket to Ride, Catan, and stuff like that, and just looking at what these things brought to the party, how they contributed to the rising of all boats. And then a month later, 3rd December, which is midweek, I'm at Market House in Brixton, which is a bus ride from me. I appreciate this kind of event organizing. And I'm doing an hour and a half on the history of Warhammer, which is going to be social history, but also the cultural history, the economic history. How did Games Workshop become the financial powerhouse that it is now?
Is
all of that?
I remember hearing once that Games Workshop is a bigger financial entity in Great Britain than North Sea Oil. Can that possibly be true?
I think it was bigger than British Gas at one point, or Centrica. It's bigger. This will astound British people. It's bigger than Greg's. I checked that. Yeah, they're a FTSE 250 company there, which is a list of the 250 biggest companies in the country, and they're near the top of it as well. They are very close to breaking into the FTSE 100. Their market cap, last I checked, £3.5 billion. They are a genuinely colossal company. They are a very big deal. They still do all their manufacturing here. So it's not just about where did these games come from? It's like, how did they come up? How did a ragtag band of toy soldier makers and historical enthusiasts in the Nottingham area come up with a game that has become this genuine economic powerhouse? Because all Games Workshop has is their IP. All they've really got is Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, and 40k.
Well, the licensing games too, like all the
yeah. But I mean, all right. Clearly, they've made a lot of correct decisions. How much of it do you think is just random chance? We were good at guessing coin flips.
Oh, I can tell you this because I wrote a paper about it for MIT Press a few years ago. It's in their Zones of Control book on wargaming. It's essentially being in the right place at the right time.
Okay.
Multiple times, and being prepared to pivot the company completely when they did. It's the fact that Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson, and I can blather about this for an hour and a half, strangely enough. Ian Livingstone and Steve Jackson built up a distribution company and small retail chain. Brian Ansell then pivoted that to become the Warhammer Company and turned those shops into clubhouses. Then Tom Kirby came in from TSR UK. He bought out Brian Ansell and took the company public to get the money, to expand the retail chain. It's not that they were in the right place at the right time. It's that they had maneuvered themselves into being in the right place at the right time. I mean, just having the right guy running the company at the right moment to make that bold decision. Games Workshop started off doing wooden backgammon boards. People don't realize it's handmade backgammon boards.
You're giving away the content.
Trust me, I am giving away a tiny, tiny bit. There is so much great stuff in the history of Games Workshop. My favorite Games Workshop anecdote, and this is a spoiler for the talk.
All right.
If you were going for, and I realize we need to finish because it's late, and
we'll end on this because man, it's you've built it up. It sounds climactic.
This is great. If you were going for a management position in Games Workshop after they'd moved up to the whole operation was up in Nottingham, so this is late 80s, and you'd sit down, they'd interview you, and they promoted internally. But the final thing was, okay, now to prove that you're ready to be a Games Workshop manager, I need you to go into the warehouse and fire someone. And go, okay, who do you want me to fire? I don't care.
Shit!
Yep.
I couldn't do it.
HR departments were not yet a thing in Games.
No kidding, man.
That's like the joke, which the joke goes, and I've modified this for Delta Green. Actually, is that these Delta Green is looking for new agents, and so they try this guy from the Air Force Security Forces, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll do whatever it takes." And they're like, "Okay, go into this room and kill the person in the room." And the Air Force guy goes in, and he comes out gray faced, and he's shaking. He's like, "How did you get my mother in there?" They're like, "Thank you for interviewing, but I don't think you're Delta Green material." And so then this Army Ranger comes in, and they're like, "You go into the room, kill the person you find in there." And he comes out gray faced and he's shaking, and he's like, "Oh my God, I didn't think I could point a gun at my mom and pull the trigger, and I don't believe it. Thank you so much for leaving it unloaded." And they're like, "Yeah, okay, we'll put you on the maybe list." And so the final is this woman from the Marine Corps, and they're like, "Go into the room, kill whoever you find in there." And 10 minutes later, she comes out, and they're like, and she's like, "Okay, if you wanted me to do this, you could have loaded the gun. Man, I had to beat her."
Yeah.
So that So that's
But,
the vibe we get from Warhammer management.
I think it's it's like how you show the villains of a 1980s comedy are bad.
Okay,
You know,
kind
like,
of is.
go on in there, Chad. Fire someone. Who? I don't care.
You do make it sound like these Warhammer guys are like, we're going to tear down the community center. You'd better not have a breakdancing competition.
Better
to fund
not.
Yes. You skateboarders, get out of our way.
Yep. That's a new one-page game for Grant Howitt. Thank you all very much. We'll talk to you next month. Bye.